You can be followed member on at DLally_PGH as we look at here. And his very first one right now, he is going right now with a running back in the first round here. I mean, with our first pick, I should say. Excuse me. And he is going with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he is from LSU. He played 3 seasons there in the SEC Conference. I mean, this guy right here who did a decent good job rushing the football. He averaged about 5.7 yards per carry while tallying up 2,103 yards in his 3 seasons. He got a bulk of his yardage back in his final season where he rushed for 215 attempts for 1,414 yards, 6.6 yards per carry, which was a career high for him. He had 16 touchdowns. And you talk about a guy right here, too. I mean, who did pretty decent receiving the ball, too. He also had 453 yards, 8.2 average. His scrimmage yards is 270 plays for 1,867 yards, 6.9 yards per average, 17 touchdowns, which includes altogether, 24 touchdowns. So, excuse me. Well, I mean, his final season, I should say. 17 touchdowns. So he had a career scrimmage of 439 plays for 2,698 yards, 6.1 yards per average. He had a grade of a 6.42, and a grade of a 6.42, according to the combine schedule, the grading scale, should become an instant starter, which is pretty decent. Now, one of the things that people will be asking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, where was he in speed? Well, we got the results from that. He ran a 4.6 4-yard dash in that, which, well, when we break it down and everything, what he did, I mean, that's in like the top 5 right there. So, I mean, this guy right here, he's got like a lot of respectable speed, running a 4.6. The highest on there of everybody who's fastest on here in this combine so far, we had for the 4.65 4-yard dash, that belonged to Zach Moss of Utah, who's with the Pac-12. So that's pretty decent considering here when we break it down here for this guy and what he's going to try and contribute as a Steeler. I mean, that right there, he's got the 4th highest speed in the 4-yard dash. That's one thing you guys should keep in mind right there. I mean, as far as like a lot of the theory right now, a lot of people are thinking that the Steelers should be trying to get a lot more on offense with their draft, especially with Ben Roethlisberger coming back off of elbow surgery. I mean, obviously, I think who I had on here, Stan Savran, the godfather of Pittsburgh Sports Talk Radio, last Monday. I mean, he thought the Steelers should probably get like a big mauling lineman, a guard, which I would not have any problem with. I mean, Sean Surratt, obviously had a dubious tax of filling right there when you look at who the Steelers moved on from with Mike Munchak, who was with the Denver Broncos. And it almost seems like the attitude of that offensive line is kind of dissipated a little bit. They did a good job in protecting the quarterback. But as far as opening up lanes for the running game, we all saw this past year how frustrating that was. But a lot of it, too, I would have to think, too, the way the Steelers were dealing with their game plan, the way they were scheming things. I mean, no offense. I mean, I'm not sure about anyone else right here, but I was talking to a good friend of mine, Terrell Barnes. You can look him up on social media. Real good diehard Steeler fan and has a lot of good hot takes on this team. But he was even telling me, too, that he feels strongly, and so do I, is that sharing the ball a lot. I mean, splitting the carries. I'm not sure if that's in the best interest of this team when you want to really dominate ball games. I mean, that's going to be, I think, a little bit concerning right there. I definitely feel right now, because when you had healthy James Conner, up until he got hurt in the Thursday night game a year ago, you saw what he could do scrimmage-wise. He was tearing it up. I mean, James Conner, who did a lot, I mean, to fill in for Le'Veon Bell's shoes, obviously he was hurt, I mean, towards the tail end. But, I mean, James Conner, so when you look at things, had, like, astounding numbers as far as, like, his scrimmage yards in 2018. He had 270 touches for 1,470 yards in that, which is pretty darn impressive. Coupled in with the fact he also had right there altogether for that, for his touchdowns, he had 13 scrimmage touchdowns. Pretty darn impressive when you look at those numbers. And I know a lot of people were frustrated at Le'Veon Bell for sitting out. I mean, like, not signing his franchise tag for the first time, not wanting to do it. But, I mean, if you look at, like, what James Conner did, I mean, Le'Veon Bell's did it on a more consistent level, mind you. But as far when we look at, I mean, the big difference, too, when we're looking at things, I mean, this guy had a lot of stuff right here. I mean, he definitely had fairly a better, decent average for scrimmage, 5.2 yards versus Le'Veon Bell's 5. So he was edging him out just a little bit. Not by much, but I know Mike Tomlin decided to break away from that game plan about not trying to run the brakes off a running back. You saw a lot of guys before in the past who would get hurt towards the tail end, where it was like a Willie Parker or Rashad Mendenhall. I mean, you had guys right there, I mean, a lot of times. And I guess he just did not like that narrative over time when you think about it. Because the thing is, too, when you lose two talents like guys like Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, you're trying to recoup their production that they had when they were in the black and gold. Obviously, that wasn't too much success. But that first pick right there, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I have no problem with. I think, like I said, if I were to go opposite of Dale Lowry's pick as far as, like, in the running back category here, I think our guy you could probably make an argument for, too. I mean, what's reasonable that could slip down to them at this point? I mean, I would not mind seeing if they could get a guy like a Zach Moss right here. I mean, Zach Moss, I mean, who's also pretty solid, I mean, with his numbers, when you look at things, he had 4,067 yards rushing, averaging 5.7 yards altogether. And he had a career 778 plays for 4,752 yards, pretty much almost double versus Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the scrimmage right there. And like I said, will he be able to slip down to them? I mean, he had 4.65 yard, 6.5 4-yard dash. But according to Walter Football, he is projected to be between rounds 1 and 3 that he could get selected. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if he is able to slip down to that second round, 49th overall. I mean, when you look at the overall class of prospects for this year's draft, that's where I'm a little bit curious about. But I will say this. I mean, like I said, like Craig Wolfley would say on Steelers Live, you better believe that the Steelers are going to definitely look at the best player available and not necessarily like, who they could get on their wish list. They're going to go with the best guy that's right there at their radar. I mean, last year, was the – so you wait basically about like 16 years later to do that. So, again, if you guys want to tune in, the phone and text lines are open right now. It's 312-209-2232. Again, that's 312-209-2232. 2232. Again, you can look me up on Twitter at Proj Richie, at Masteel CJR, at OnDeck CSR, Instagram Proj Richie, Masteel Nation, all lowercase, OnDeck CSR, my YouTube channel, Masteel Podcast. And then you can also look me up on Mixcloud for all the podcasts I share for all my shows, which includes Masteel Podcast and On Deck on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. When you go on the Mixcloud, you can just look me up, Charles Proj Richie. You can hear all my podcasts for all my shows that I did in case you missed any of the live stream shows, which I do on Saturdays from 1 to 2 p.m. for On Deck. So let's get into like the second pick overall, according to Dale Lally, who he believes the Steelers definitely should take, going into this year when we look at it. And here we go. The second overall pick, which would be round number 3, 83rd overall, the compensatory pick for Le'Veon Bell. Steelers select cornerback Amik Robertson out of Louisiana Tech. So, like I said, that's a guy right there. I mean, Amik Robertson, when we look at the overall combine results, and when we look at it, Amik Robertson right here, who is a corner, let's not forget, out of Louisiana Tech, he's a defensive back. Let's see what his grade was. He got a grade of a 6.32. 6.32? That right there, he is definitely in the same category like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Should become an instant starter. Not necessarily a Pro Bowl caliber player, but an instant starter, which is a good sign right there. And when we look at his results, according to the combine, nothing much. He just had 6.32. Player bio on him. He was overworked as a recruit due to his lack of size. Louisiana folks are glad the Theodox native stayed in his home state to star for the Bulldogs. And more from Dale Lally on this guy, real quick, with the compensatory pick. He said the Steelers were sniffing around too many quarterbacks at the combine for the interest not to be there. And he has a gut feeling that they may not pick up the option on a guy like Mike Hilton. Remember, Mike Hilton, I believe he came around in 2017. They may choose to instead go with Cam Sutton as a starting nickel this season. At 5'8", 187 pounds, end quote, according to Dale Lally of the DK Pittsburgh Sports, Robertson is slated to be a slot corner. He had 14 career interceptions at Louisiana Tech and held his own even against big wideouts. Robertson, in fact, has a scrappy quality that has made Hilton so good, but he'll be a younger, cheaper version. And another thing you got to look at from this perspective, too. I mean, I have no problem with that because you also got to look at it this way because definitely, clearly the writing on the wall, Ari Burns is not going to be sticking around, this year. But, when you look at it, from, like, those perspectives and what's happening, it makes a ton of sense on there, if you ask me. I could definitely see them going corner on their second pick. I'm not going to necessarily be their first pick, but, I think they definitely like the fact of the secondary, what they're able to do around Minkah Fitzpatrick and all the guys around him. As we look at all the stuff that has been going on, why not? You want to definitely build off this momentum where you're in the top 3 in scoring on turnovers for touchdowns last year. That's something you haven't seen in a long time from this unit. Like I said, I think another thing is, too, the defense you want to work on, too, is getting some shutouts. And you heard guys like Terrell Edmonds, more especially from TJ Watt, who definitely feels like shutouts, they definitely want to, make a statement going forward against opponents. And I have no problem with that. I love the first for improvement. And that's a lot right there, to take a look into. I definitely feel like you have to be definitely more aware of that. At some point, the last time they haven't had a shutout was 2011 when they had 2 in that year where they shut out both the Seattle Seahawks and the St. Louis Rams. Funny how not too long ago they were previously the St. Louis Rams, the LA Rams, that is, before they moved back to LA beginning in 2016. I mean, that's what you got to look at right there. I mean, when we take a look at all stuff on the board right there. And definitely, I mean, when we look at like the defensive backs that are going to be available, let's look according to Walter Football right now. As far as those prospects go for the 2020 NFL draft prospects, as far as defensive backs, take a look at who they got on here. I mean, another guy that could probably slip down to them. I mean, also, too, you could also look at C.J. Henderson. C.J. Henderson, who is from Florida Gators. Henderson, let's file his combine grade from this year. See how he fared. He ran a 4.39 4-yard dash. He's got a 6.77 combine grade. 6.77 right there. He's got a chance to be a Pro Bowl caliber player. If the Steelers could find a way, because who knows, they may try and trade up a little bit. I mean, later in rounds. It's not often that's going to be happening, considering what they gave up. But I tell you what, that'd be one guy I would like to see on my draft board. C.J. Henderson. To be honest with you, I mean, if you're going to get another corner, why not? And I think you definitely got to look at all options on the table here. No doubt about it. But you also, like I said, I mean, what's the old saying goes? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But like I always say, the other caveat to that, if it's broke, fix it. At this point, I like to just think of it as just like adding more tools to the repair belt. I mean, add more weapons to the tool belt right there and more options. I mean, you gotta make it instill right now. I mean, even when Ben Roethlisberger comes back, there's no room for slacking off at the end of the day. You want to definitely make sure you are sending a message you're competing here for a long time, even like before, I mean, beyond Ben Roethlisberger and all that. You definitely want to make sure you're saying a statement that this is something for the long term, because obviously you heard the statement by Kevin Colbert right there. They want no more 8-8s, and that's going to have to begin this year. I anticipate the Steelers, depending how Ben is, if he is healthy and he's willing to adapt, like I said, not turn the ball over in crucial situations, we'll talk a little bit more about this team getting back. Granted, he hasn't had a good defense like this in a long time, but you don't want to like go overboard and overkill. Like I said, this guy still has a tendency for turnover balls in the red zone. We cannot let that slip away out of it. I mentioned that to Chris Mack. I mentioned that to a few other people, even Stan Savern last Monday on this. So, like I said, you want to be on guard. You want to be on your toes here, and make sure you're not overlooking anybody at this point in time. Right now, let's take a look at some of the the comments right here. I got Kevin Giles right now. Why everyone not talking about James Washington? And then we also got Otis McCray. We just need Bell back. Well, you also got to remember, too, the Jets GM right now, last week, they squashed any idea of possibly trading Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell is not going anywhere with the Jets. So you may have to look into a running back. I mean, a running back or a lineman or a receiver with your first pick in the second round. I hear those. I mean, don't get me wrong. Kevin Colbert is not shy of saying that he's willing to listen to any and all offers or guys that become available right now. Also want to say hi to a few loyal friends who are always tuning in the show. Hey, Becky, thank you very much for always joining. Appreciate it for always checking up. Appreciate the love and support. Terrell Barnes, what's up, my man? I hope you're having a good week right now. We are getting some stuff. Like I said, the Combine just wrapped up 2 days ago on Monday, March the 2nd. And we're just doing a little bit of a mock draft preview right now and trying to get more stuff stirring in the pot as we move on a little bit more and inch closer and see what happens for all this. I mean, like I said, I think you got to just remember one thing. If this is a season right now, it's a lot riding I think going into it, mainly because of Ben Roethlisberger being hurt, but then how much you could build off this defense. But like I said, if you could just do that and the offensive line, I think they're in good shape. I mean, the window is not slammed as far as on Super Bowl aspirations and hopes, let alone being a playoff team once again. And like I said, like my friend Terrell said too, one thing you want to do, you want to see Ben Roethlisberger end with a third ring. He definitely feels like it'll make Ben Roethlisberger an automatic lock. What do you guys say to that real quick? Third ring, definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it depends on who's on the ballot with him. I think it definitely gives him a little bit more legitimacy, even if he had to get paired up with a guy like Eli Manning. The only problem is, I mean, like it or not, I mean, no matter how much drought or inconsistency that Eli Manning had, he was still able to beat the Patriots twice, have 2 Super Bowl MVPs, which Ben Roethlisberger has none right there. It doesn't seem like Ben Roethlisberger is going to get that MVP that he's been striving for. But if he could do a Super Bowl MVP, why not? I mean, that's stuff you have to take into consideration right there when you look at things. It's a whole body of work when we look at all this. And you just don't want to, like, I just think you just want a little bit more better separation is what I'm trying to say. You just don't want to, I mean, hang up on your sword right now and think this is going to be enough. I'm just saying, I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. As far as first ballot, I think this definitely helps him out. A tremendous deal right there. I definitely 100% agree with that sentiment right there. I just feel you just want to like add on to it. It's not just about winning. I mean, solidly in the regular season, but it's also showing up in the playoffs, which Ben Roethlisberger has had a legitimate time doing. I mean, overall, I mean, he hasn't had his last playoff victory since they beat the Chiefs in the 2016 playoffs. His overall, like I said, his overall playoff record, he's got a 13-8 playoff record, as opposed to Eli Manning. Like I said, Eli Manning, who does have 2 rings along with 2 Super Bowl MVPs, his playoff record overall in that, he's 8-4. So very respectable right there. He's 4 games over 500, while Ben Roethlisberger is 5 games over. We cannot ignore that. I mean, it's pretty impressive. Just the only thing I will say, like I said, it's been the amount of inconsistency, the droughts right there, I think just ends up hurting a guy like Eli Manning. And it's still up to debate. I mean, if he's even a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, like Terrell even reminded me too, is just that when you look at it, you're definitely going to have not only his big brother, Peyton Manning, his dad, Archie, but then you're also going to have New York media on his side. I mean, just for a guy who had enough guts to, like, take on the New York media market, being the younger brother of Peyton Manning, and Dixon Chargers the way he did not want to play for them, but he had a lot of balls right there to do what he did and take his stock elsewhere. And that's a lot that could be said right there. And you got to applaud him for that. The thing is, I mean, when you think Giants right there, that was a Lawrence Taylor town right there, and Bill Parcells. It was all defense for a while. You got to look at from that perspective how he was able to do that from a quarterback position, which you haven't had a guy like Phil Simms. He's got 1 more Super Bowl MVP versus Phil Simms does, so he's also pretty much like stretching him in that. He's got like one of the 3rd most Ironman streaks of all time. So, I mean, that's just nothing you can't slight on Manning either way at the end of the day. I get it. He hasn't been there in a while, but man, oh man, at the end of the day, he did it against the biggest team twice, stopping a dynasty like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. That's so unheard of right there when we look at it. That's just not much people can get away with. I mean, that's pretty much like Joe Montana stopping John Elway and the Broncos. If they would have met one more time, they stopped him twice. Don't get me wrong, he's beat the Bengals, but that's nowhere is in par in comparison for the course where those two would match up in that situation. All right, let's go to our next pick, according to Dale Lally, coming up here of DK Pittsburgh Sports. Remember, he can be followed on Twitter at DLally_PGH. And here we go. We got round number 4, 99 pick overall. The Steelers select Benito Jones out of Ole, Mississippi, nose tackle here. And Benito Jones right here, who's projected to be drafted between the 3rd and 5th round, he has a combine grade of 6.20. And that right there should become instant starter, which is good right there. But the thing is right there too, I mean, when we look at all that, I mean, this guy right here, he ran a 4-yard dash. Check this out. 5.26 40-yard dash for a nose tackle. Again, 5.26, which is the highest 4-yard dash out of any nose tackle as far as like top 10 according to my rankings. I get a chance to look at everybody. I was just breaking down the top 10 mainly for running backs, receivers, tight ends, outside linebackers, and nose tackles. That's pretty freaking impressive if you ask me. Benito Jones right there. And the thought process of getting a guy like Benito Jones, according to Dale Lally, they need a developmental nose tackle to replace Daniel McCullers even if they do keep Hargrave. He says he expects them to sign a mid-level veteran on a short-term deal if Hargrave leaves, opening the door to add a young nose. Jones, who is at 6'1", 316 pounds, has the size to anchor the middle, but he's not a great pass rusher, which will push him down some boards. It won't be a sexy pick, according to Dale Lally, but will be one that has been needed for a while. But like I said, when you look at that combine result, 5.26 4-yard dash, people, let's think about that for a second. For a 300-plus pounder to run that fast, dude, I mean, like Stan Severett said about getting a guard, I think that's my definition of a mauler on defense right there. I think if he's got that kind of speed, dude, I definitely, excuse me for saying word, dude, I'm sorry, I'm just getting carried away, but that is like dominance right there. That cannot be ignored. I'm definitely getting him on my wish list real quick. Again, I want to hear from you guys. Do you guys feel like the Steelers right now? Who do you guys feel right now with your first 3 picks? Are you agreeing with any of the picks that Dale Lally is saying right now? Just recap so far. For their first pick in the 2nd round, which would be 49th overall, they select running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire of LSU. Round number 3, the 2nd pick for the Steelers will be Meek Robertson of Louisiana Tech. And then their 3rd pick, nose tackle Benito Jones, which would be 99th overall, which is still in the top 100 range, by the way, just so you know. So these first 3, they're still in the top 100, which is very impressionable considering what they had to trade to bring a guy in like Minkah Fitzpatrick. All good signs so far, if you ask me. What do you guys feel? I want to hear your draft board. Give me like your top 3 or 5 picks right now. I definitely want to read through the comments. I want to hear some thoughts from you guys right now. Who's on your wish list right now as we get closer to free agency trade, but then once we get to the draft this year, which will be taking place in Las Vegas. That'll be on Thursday, April 23rd. I'll tell you, I'm interested in how fun that's going to be, like the presentations of the guys drafting. I wonder what kind of show they're going to put on. I could imagine it's definitely got to be all in right there, if you ask me. I mean, that's definitely, I think Vegas, I'm not going to lie, that is going to be jam-packed. So let's get into some more right here as we are looking. I know I'm going in a little bit of overtime, everybody, so please excuse me. But like I said, I haven't been on this past Monday, just dealing with a little bit of personal issues so far, just taking care of. So thank you guys for weighing me out here. Let's get into our next pick, according to Dale Lally here. The next one we got coming up in round number 4, 114th overall, which is past the top 100. The Steelers select wide receiver Antonio Gibson out of Memphis. Now, Antonio Gibson out of Memphis, right here. Here is the lowdown on him from Dale Lally. And Gibson is a developmental piece. He played running back and receiver at Memphis, so he's had limited work at both. Last season, he was primarily at wide receiver, 38 receptions, 735 yards, 19.3 average, 8 touchdowns, but also earned midseason reps at running back, 33 carries, 369 yards, 4 touchdowns, 6 total, 228 pounds. He's put there. Steelers could use him as a chess piece. He timed at 4.39 at the 4-yard combine. He's scary good on jet sweeps and could line up outside stretch defense with his speed. He also has a kick return for score last season, averaging 28 yards in that role. So I wonder if that's something right there you'd see on competition right there as far as like kick returns. I'm not going to lie. I think that would definitely be a lot of fun. It was nice to see Deontay Johnson definitely return a touchdown on a punt in his rookie season. Last been Santonio Holmes back in 2006. But as we look at the most recent depth chart of the Steelers, I mean, this year, when we look at it on special teams, remember your kick returner this year, was Ryan Switzer until he got hurt. I think it was James Washington, Ari Burns, but maybe Deontay Johnson, forget who. But I'm definitely willing for more competition on the special teams. You definitely don't want to slip up on that. I think you definitely want to add some more competition on there. You want to continue to keep that explosive at all possible. You definitely don't want to miss that because let's face it, just as we talk about not having takeaways, return for scoring touchdowns by the defense, it is very much important to have that quick strike with special teams returns for touchdowns, whether it be kickoff returns or punt returns right there. In my opinion, those are quick punches right there, quick knockout shots right there you can provide, or just thunder and lightning. That's what I want to think about with this team as we continue to look at everything going in here, as we look at things. So, I mean, those are things to consider right there. Let's get into our next pick right here. Round number 6, Steelers select center and guard Keith Ismail out of San Diego State. If the Steelers make a run at keeping B.J. Finney, as Lally expects, it will be because Finney is going to be the starting left guard once Ramon Foster is released. That means they'll need a solid backup center. Ismail started at both guard and center for the Aztecs. He's a reliable interior blocker who could slip a bit in this very deep offensive tackle draft. He has star potential down the road. And let's take a look at Ismail, his combine result, as we look at things here and how he fared in this combine. Keith Ismail out of San Diego State, he had a grade of a 6.10. And 6.10, as we look at the overall grading scale, should become instant starter. But his 4-yard dash was a 5.34, so he's definitely a guy who could run. He had 32 vertical jump inches, 108 broad jump, 8.14 seconds in the 3-cone drill, and 4.65 seconds in the 20-yard shuttle. As we look at things here, the biggest thing about Ismail, according to Lally, like I said, I mean, you just want to keep thinking about the offensive tackles draft. And their last pick, the Steelers select Derek Tuszka out of North Dakota State. Now, he showed enough athleticism that he could very well be gone before the Steelers pick in the 7th round. Tuszka is an interesting pass rushing prospect. He had 29.5 sacks in 3 seasons as a starter. It was at a lower level, but the Steelers have been afraid to go after lower level defensive ends to convert to outside linebackers. The Steelers tag Bud Dupree. They'll need a guy who could turn into a starter. If they sign him to a long-term deal, they need somebody to push Anthony Chickillo off the roster. Tuszka has the potential to do either right there. As we look at other stuff right now, too, like I said, also was away from the combine. Dale Lawley also notes, too, in here that the Steelers, who have one of 8 unrestricted free agents, according to Spotrac, and let's recap some of those free agents who Spotrac has listed here as we get a little bit more into it on the Metal Steel podcast. This is Charles Bradge Ritchie as we're taking a look at things right now as it stands. And let's see who we got right now. As far as the Steelers, their free agents, as we look at it, as far as unrestricted free agents go, here's the list right now as we got it. We got B.J. Finney, Ari Burns, Bud Dupree, Sean Davis, Javon Hargrave, Nick Vannett, Cameron Candidate, and Tyler Matakevich. Now, B.J. Finney, he is going to be right now for the Steelers. As we look at everything, B.J. Finney, his cap hit for, this past season, I mean, he was a $3.10 million cap hit. They're all unrestricted. So, like, their overall market value right now, it's unknown. But you got Ari Burns right now. Remember, who's also part of Drew Rosenhaus right now. His market value is at 1 year, $1.07 million. Then you also had on here on this list, as far as like the other guys, like I said, Bud Dupree, his market value, like I said, if the Steelers do decide to franchise tag him, he's going to be having an average annual salary of $16.7 million, 5 years, $83.03 million. End quote. And they also said right now that the results of that vote by the general membership of the NFLPA could be known as early as the end of this week. At least that is what the NFL is hoping. If it stretches to the next week, the league could choose to push back the start of the new league year, slightly gives teams more time to access what a new CBA will mean for them in 2020 if it is approved as expected. A new CBA could affect even significantly because right now, because of the adjustment in the franchise tag start date, the deadline for teams to use the tag has been adjusted from March 10th to March 12th, which will be next Thursday at this point in time. So instead of it being next Tuesday, it will be on the 12th, which will be a Thursday. So now let's get into some fair or foul right now. Here we go. Fair or foul topic number 1. Devin Bush will help Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin lure Michigan Wolverine prospects, according to Brian Backo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And I will say fair on that one because you look at it this way. Like I said, don't be surprised if they do take a corner or a safety, especially with Ari Burns like moving on right now. I mean, more than likely this season. I just definitely feel like why not? I would not be surprised at that point. Never hurts to add on to what you got. And I just feel what you got to lose here. And I got Karche Stock says, I think our running backs are quite adequate, but we need to improve O-line to open the holes for them. We have receivers. We don't need our 5'8 defensive backs. Receivers are 6'3". What's the guy my height going to do? And I think that's a great point right there, too. I think when you look at it, he's saying don't need 5'8 defensive backs. I think definitely what you're trying to say, Carl, is you want someone to match up man-to-man size-wise. I definitely agree with that. I mean, when you look at it. And I just feel right now what you got to look at is like, hey, you don't want to take any chances getting beat down the field again. And you just want to stay on top. You just want to build on something special here. I just feel right now I would not be surprised. I mean, to build on this momentum that you have, and don't be afraid to just, like I said, just add improvements and more stuff to the tool belt. That's how I'm looking at this thing. Because right now, remember, too, Josh Metellus if he ends up in Pittsburgh, he would have been playing with a guy like Devin Bush on 3 levels of football: high school, college, and the pros right there. I mean, which is pretty interesting. The background on this guy, according to Brian Backo, they were classmates at Flanagan High School earlier here. I mean, then of course playing in Michigan and then possibly the Steelers. Why not? I think that is something you definitely need to look into here. And then also, fair foul topic, the last one for the day. CBA will get approved by the end of next week. I will say I'm probably going to go foul on that one. I'm not so sure. I mean, the thing is, the biggest sticking point is that it's just playing the extra game right there. You also got to see what's going to happen with the media TV deal here going in. And I think for like everyone around the league, they're definitely all paying attention to that. And like I said, I just don't feel like players right now want to rush into something. The only thing is with the 17-game schedule, according to ESPN.com, is that it could take place anywhere between as early as 2021 and 2022 or 2023. So keep that in mind as we look at it, in case everyone's wondering the 17-game season, if it's going to happen. I definitely feel like it's inevitable, but as far as CBA, I would not be surprised that the players want to carry this a little bit long. The only part that you probably risk right there is like how much like an offer like this goes out the window. Remember, you got the current, share of revenue at 47%. It's supposed to be a go as high as 48.5% if this thing gets approved. If they do approve it, the new playoff format will go into effect this season, which would mean, like I said, you'll have only 2 top teams in each conference as opposed to 2 teams per conference. And like I said, when's the last time the Steelers were ever number 1 overall, having home field advantage, go for Pittsburgh? That was 2004, the year before they won the Super Bowl under Ben Roethlisberger and got the one for the thumb, and also for Bill Cowher, the chin right there. Both Hall of Famers right there. Congratulations once again, boys. And, of course, Troy Polamalu, you get ready to get in there. It was a big support of Jerome Bettis wearing that Notre Dame jersey, support, showing some love going into his hometown, Detroit. But like I said, you have to think all that stuff right there. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Meta Steel Podcast. Once again, thank you for those of you tuning in. You can catch me every Monday and Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Number of the dial in and text next time. Again, it is 312-209-2232. Again, that's 312-209-2232. You can follow me on Twitter at ProdsRichie, at MetaSteelCJR, at OnDeckCSR, Instagram, ProdsRichie, MetaSteel Nation, all lowercase, OnDeckCSR, my YouTube channel, MetaSteel Podcast. You can also look me up on the Mixcloud channel, Charles ProdsRichie. As always, leave you. Don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.